Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Gift the Gab. This is my guy,
Jarvis.
and I'm Thaddeus as usual. Right now, as we know, it's a big year, 2020. We know 2020 has been a beautiful catastrophe and things that have happened, but also as well too, it's also a big year because it is an election year. So it's our time to select our next group of officials that are going to come in and lead us, lead us to the next 4 years. First of all, as you all see the message on the board here is please vote. I know some people think there isn't power in the voting, but that is not true. If you don't put out your vote, you literally are not using your voice to make an impact on changes that can happen. And the vote isn't just about the bigger offices being the president. Also remember your local offices as well too. Those I thought you were about to say something. My bad. Those offices can be your judges. Those are your local officials. They very much are a part of the system. They are a huge part of your system because that is where you live. So don't forget, vote for those as well too. The voting is very important. But this is the topic actually you brought up, and I'm happy that you did because voting is very much important. Not only that, but we gotta know what we're voting for. You just gotta know your politics.
Yeah, I mean, the first job I had out of college was in 2012, of course, in reference to my age. As I took a job in Virginia, I was a field organizer working for the Democratic Party of Virginia and Organized for America. At the time, that was like the grassroots movement campaign, which really won both elections for him. And I've seen and had conversations about the. I don't even want to call it the. I don't want to call it the election, about the political process. I've had these conversations, and it's a little concerning as the general overall attitude that we have towards voting, and a lot of times that it's because of we just don't think our vote matters, a lack of understanding the political process as a whole. Especially on the federal level,
Yeah.
we don't understand the electorate. Like we don't understand, how you elect these people when they make federal appointments and they operate in that space and control your life, such as HUD.
Literally.
Yes, HUD, the Department of Education, Department of Energy, Defense, or whatever. All these compartments of government, like we don't understand how that process works, so it doesn't have the value. You feel me? Like you should put this fool up here to get in front of the camera and go and meet with these other fools that rule these other countries and let them do their president thing. But it's a little deeper than that, and that becomes the headliner, and we forget about state and local and all that stuff. So just go and look at a ballot, and then just kind of think like, if you've been keeping up with it, of course, like, does this person's ideas align with mine? Like,
That's real though.
and that's how you express that voice.
Like, that's real. Because if you think about with the local officials, a lot of times, if you so happen to do get in a situation where you might get locked up, a lot of times that's a local official you're going to see, right? Like for
Yes.
doing, that's my point exactly. Like for doing a crime, here in the county, you're not gonna go see a Supreme Court judge. You're not gonna go stand for President Trump. You about to stand for that official you elected into that seat to put that gavel down and say, "Hey, this is what your sentence is gonna be."
Right.
So you do have to be mindful of those local offices because they do impact you very much more than those. I'm not saying more than the bigger offices, but those are more immediate impact.
Absolutely, and we feel it every day, and we wonder why things are the way that they are. And I say we. I'm not even talking to a particular race. I'm talking as
The country as a whole.
as a country as a whole. Some more than others, of course, but
Yeah.
like we wonder why things are this way and why they operate this way and why this is the consequence of this action in comparison to the consequence of this action. And like we don't understand. We understand it. We get how we feel, but we're not putting that frustration and that voice of power by and large when it comes to the political process and making sure that you like your that angst and that feeling of not being heard is felt, and you feel me because you're not showing up. Like this guy doesn't think, feel, he doesn't have anything towards what you got going on, so he's gonna go and push what he thinks is right
Right.
because you didn't say anything.
Literally, it's a choice of you not saying anything. Like, and I think a lot of times what people see is they see I vote, I'm one person. What does my one voice have to do with the majority? But you have to realize, like, the majority is really one voice. It's
Right.
everybody making a decision to use their one voice.
Right.
Those one voices come together, and that can literally make change. Like,
Right.
we have to realize that yes, you are one individual, but your one individual vote next to somebody else's matters, and then that person's vote next to somebody else's matter, and it stacks up. Like, I remember just looking at the last year, not last year, sorry, but the last election for president that we had. There literally, I think they said I think the percentage of people who didn't vote was very much a difference. And a lot of times look at it like, yes, Hillary did win the popular vote. She did win the popular vote, correct? Yeah, okay. The way you looked at me, he was like, bro, I don't know if that's true. Okay, yeah.
Yes, y'all know because I'm trying to hear what you're saying.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, she won a popular vote, but think about how many people in those states that the electoral college when she lost. Think how many of those people possibly didn't vote that she could have got. It's a possibility. I don't know for a fact that that's true, but still, those little bitty votes do matter at the end of the day. That didn't go out there and vote. So if you don't use your voice, you're really choosing not to use your voice. And I feel like a lot of times people who complain about things that are going on, I ask you, well, did you vote? Like you complain about something you didn't even try, something that anybody can go and do. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's just one of the things I feel like, yeah, you can say a lot what you want to say, but voting doesn't matter. But I also do believe that you have to be educated on what you're voting for as well too. So a lot of times that is having to do some research, having to look into what platforms that these candidates can stand on. And just, I mean, I want you to tell me. I mean, kind of something you actually put me on with politics is what are some things that we do need to look out for in this next election that they're putting in front of us?
First, I'm so proud of you.
What?
I did not think you would have brought up that whole electoral college thing where Hillary didn't win these states. Like most people don't even take that into consideration when they would say we should disband the electoral college. I want to be completely honest with voters, and part of the reason why we got into this situation where we are on the federal government level is the fact that we have not had great candidates, and that's just it is what it is. So and I'm saying that in reference to the fact that Hillary lost, and if I'm wrong, charge it to my mind and not my heart. She lost Michigan, she lost Ohio, she lost Indiana, she lost a very winnable Florida. She lost North Carolina.
So shit always going on in Florida to make something happen.
Right.
Always going on in Florida.
Basic common sense. Like this man has a compound or whatever the hell you want to call what he has in Palm Beach. He has that. And his people despise him because some of the things he's done in those communities and like some of the things he's done in those communities.
Yeah. Like
that's an easy thing that you can go and pitch to the citizens of Florida, but you neglected to do so. She didn't go to those. She didn't go to the industrial areas of Michigan and tell these people, hey, these jobs might not come back as you remember, but they can come back in a fashion that makes sense for us on an environmental and economic level. Because that was the thing. You feel me? Like she can, what she gonna go in there and say? Like, because Obama had said, and I agree with it. Though, some of these jobs are never coming back, and she didn't go and echo a message to those people. Like she physically didn't go to those areas and echo.
So they're only hearing one voice, basically.
Right. You feel me? Like I want oatmeal. My dad tell me this. Oatmeal is better than no meal. When Trump went,
so oatmeal is better than no meal.
Oatmeal is better than no meal.
That's true,
right? When Trump went, he gave them people something to attach themselves to. Yes, it ain't the best thing I got,
right?
Oatmeal, but it's better than what she giving me, no meal. You feel me?
Yeah.
So
I think they just thought they were gonna get that vote, honestly.
Right? She blew that. You feel me? And that was an uphill battle because now these people have adjusted their whole paradigms to a man that will literally tell you anything to make you feel good about yourself or the prospects of what's coming down the road. You feel me? And one of my angst with Biden is let me go and preface this. I think Biden is going to put brilliant people around him, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times it's not. It's a lot of times it's not just about who you vote for. It's who you vote for and who they're going to employ or put into office.
Absolutely. So it's this meme that I seen, or like a comic strip or whatever, where future Vice President Harris is pushing President Biden, in a wheelchair. And he's like, "Yay, we won! Ha 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 ha!" Like, "Yay!" She's smiling, and then on the next picture beside it, she's like throwing him off a cliff, like, you know. And it was hilarious, right?
But I get what you're saying.
And I'm saying that to say, like, he's a little loose. You feel me? Like he's not the brightest crayon in the box. You feel me? He doesn't. Right. You gotta look for him.
But at least I always say this, right? This is just my opinion on everything. Also, too, I feel like we haven't had great candidates because I feel like the bipartisan system is trash. That's also what I feel like. I feel like sometimes it's more of people are aligned with the party and what the party says rather than what's best for them. You're no longer voting for your own personal interest. You're voting upon the interest of, oh, this is the party that I align with, right? I do feel like that sometimes does make you blind to not see things. But that's an episode for another day. But that's something for another day. But I think it's one of the things as well, too, people have to realize these people are being put into place, yes, as the president, but they're going to also put people into positions. Like, for example, we have a Supreme Court office that is now open. So that is very much crucial to who we vote for as president, to who's going to put the right Supreme Court justice in charge. So we have to be very mindful of not only, yes, what they think and what they feel, but be mindful of who they're going to employ and put in the spots. And I think that's a lot of times I trust Biden personally to put the right people around him, just like you said, more than I trust Trump. Because both of them have their things. I mean, I'm not going to, act like, Biden didn't push, non-uniform crime bill that, during the time, I will say, I will say just the things about, if you look at it during the time, the things have changed. I'm just saying, if you're voting, you do have to be conscious of the good and the bad.
That conversation, it is so troublesome for me. Right?
Not talking talk.
Because so you said something earlier about low information voters, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not, and being a low information voter does not make you like deaf, dumb, or stupid. You feel
right?
Me? That means that of all the things you have going on in your life, you really don't have the time to worry about this. You feel me? But for people like myself who, and I'm not saying I'm a super wizard or anything like that, but I try to stay informed. Like,
you at least
when you're taking in this information, right? And you're trying to stay in current with what's going on, like you have to be able to take it in doses one, and you have to be able to put it in context two. So when you tell me about the 94 crime bill, my immediate pushback will have you talk to anybody who was born around that time, but who lived through that time and can tell you the circumstances and the reason and rationale behind why this was done. You feel me? Yeah. So in reference to the 94 crime bill, you think about me coming out of Reagan's, flooding the street with cocaine, crack, whatever, and that was his. So that he has to own that. You feel me? Bush, after him, didn't do much to fix that. You feel me? Then in 92, you got Clinton in, right? So it had to be addressed because that was part of what Clinton ran on. You feel me? Like, we're gonna fix the streets in urban America.
So it was like during that time, it worked during that time, and yes, now it has. We see now that some of the effects of it have hurt certain groups, but during the time, it made sense. Is what you're saying?
That and the fact, and I'll speed it up. Your grandmother and all those people back then at that time, if they was actively and politically engaged, they probably supported it. Mm-hmm. It was supported by the NAACP. It was supported by the Congressional Black Caucus. It was supported by President Bill Clinton. It was supported by almost every every black. No, I'm gonna take that back because that's hyperbole. It was supported by a large conglomerate group of black people. You feel me? especially the more affluent ones, who was, they wanted to protect their, their neighborhoods and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? That was
also has to do with property value.
That was something that was done by people. Let me take that back. Everybody had their hands in that, and it was a shitty situation because people lost their parents, brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters to the penal system because of that. You feel me? Like 3 strikes, you're gone. We're gonna hit crack with the mandatory sentence, and we feel that. You feel me? Hindsight is 2020. So if you want to judge Biden by that, and it was a terrible bill, and he said some terrible shit. It was, you have to put that in context. You feel me? Context, because we wasn't PC. We wasn't politically correct. We didn't care. You feel me? Like, we just said what the hell we thought. Yeah. Put the stuff in context. Now, you can still tell me at the end of the day that was a terrible, bill, and I would agree with you. Mm-hmm. But shit, we're gonna look back at what we got going on now and say, why did we allow that? You feel me? It's gonna happen,
bro. I know probably our kids gonna look back at America and be like, how did y'all let President Trump win? And I'm just gonna sit here and be like, well, hey.
Feel me? It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times.
You read 2020 in your history. But also, too, I firmly, like you said, you very much do have to be an educated voter. So I know we said we were going to take some time to talk about both plans, both sides. I guess I'll start off by, talking about the plan that Biden I should say President Biden and, President Kamala Harris. You're right, I got to speak into existence. But, their plan that they have with Lift Every Voice. Looking over it, I do see that it definitely is a plan that is made to push for the African American community. It's something that is there to uplift us, which I think a lot of times with us, we do need to make sure that we do look in to see what parties do have plans for us, or just not just parties, but who these people that we elected and put in office do have plans for us. To backtrack with that, one thing that I liked about it and I read about it was I appreciate that he does see the value in pushing small businesses. Because truly, that's how you pass down wealth, right? Like, a lot of these small businesses can grow into be bigger entities, and I definitely think for the Black community, we have to have ownership, right? So I saw him there. He's pushing some ideals. As a lot of times, as you know, with Black people, we have problems getting loans. So fixing some disparities with that to help us get business loans so we can invest into our business. A lot of times, it's not just about having the business, but you have to have the resources to put into it to help it grow and to be something of quality. People aren't going to buy something that doesn't look good, right? So helping us get bigger loans so we can put more investments into that. We talked about also too housing. Housing, I think, is very much important. Housing also has to me, education, which we have access to. So if we have access to better housing, so helping us get better housing loans. Also reenacting the Fair Housing Act, helping push that more and building more into that as well too. Because the thing is, housing does have a lot to do with what resources you have access to, right? And if you have access to better resources, you can do better. Okay. You got to go ahead. What?
I care so much about that issue.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
In part because I want a house.
Yeah.
In part because I see what that does, literally to the quality of life.
Yeah.
For every stakeholder. From being a teacher,
mm-hmm.
we are funded directly from those property taxes, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so that's where y'all funded from. I didn't. I really, honestly, I just didn't know.
You could have asked me that off camera. It didn't have to tell everybody you didn't know that.
Look, man. Sometimes I look for the people. We said real content.
But yeah, a large amount of it, and the federal government kick in too. But a large part that comes from property tax.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say, I'm trying not to bash any particular candidate, but we're gonna go to Trump. His elimination of the affordable healthcare, not affordable healthcare, but the Fair Housing Act. And that's not the exact name of it, but there was an extra layer of protection that was added to it later. Mm-hmm. And he took it off and said, we're gonna do this for suburban America. And essentially, what it's going to do is going to make those homes in suburban America more expensive, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to drive those low income earners back to the city. And what happens is some, and I may be quoting it wrong or indirectly quoting it, but it's also going to give that the protection of having affordable mixed income housing. Like that's all that is done with, right?
Yeah.
So that is that, and the more you do this, the more you take away these regulations and protections, and the more you appeal it, and the more you say, okay, get out of suburban America and go back into urban America and go back into these, into that part of the city. You feel me? Like the housing choices get smaller and smaller, and then you got all these people that are low economic earners, like sitting on the top of each other. And we know there's a direct correlation between income and crime.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Right. And we are the people that are directly affected by that. Whether that's by having...
And then you just find them overly policing the area because there's more crime.
There you go.
But yet you put them in that area.
Or
set them up to be in that area.
Essentially putting them in... One of my favorite songs of all time is Good Mob. Who's that creeping in my window? I can't think of it. Cell Therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Cell Therapy. And on that song, CeeLo is saying, how he moved to this area, right? And he thought it was all cool because, it was the first time being in an apartment that looked this nice because it was a government apartment.
Yeah.
Like, so it's regularly maintained. And it had a gate. And then he said, the older he got, the more he started to question, I don't know if they put me here to keep, crazy folks out or lock my black ass in. You feel me? So that's essentially what happens with that housing thing. You feel me? Like that's essentially, why we need to be more cognitive of that particular situation. There's a whole bunch of like in depth with like that.
But honestly, it just goes back to you have to educate yourself on those issues because, for example, that's the issue you really care about, right? So you looked into it, you made sure you studied about it, know what's going on. And one more big thing I liked about it was education. I liked the fact that he talked about basically bridging the gap in education that exists, right? So he talked about loans, right? A lot of us, it's not the fact that we're not smart enough to go to school or we have we don't have the aptitude to go to school.
We're not qualified.
Well, no, not qualified. It's the fact that you ain't got the money. Like, school's expensive. Like, that shit costs major money. Like, that's one thing about schooling out there. Like, other countries have free schooling for, like, certain things, which doesn't make sense to me. It's another story. We say we're the greatest country in the world, but we have to pay for education, which I think is just dumb.
Which directly affects your GDP, which is your claim to fame to being the greatest country. Like, I don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense. But it's just like, talking about, hey, the people who have loans, and what I read about is he's going to basically, the loan forgiveness, he's going to structure it by income, right? So if I get out of school and my degree isn't one in which I can just get a great job immediately, I'm basically stacking up my loan, which means my interest is just stacking up, which means I'm paying more on this loan because I literally don't have the money to pay for it. No. So why are you expecting somebody who doesn't have a lot of income to pay for this loan like that, right? You have to look at where they're at and what kind of jobs they're getting to see how they can pay this loan off. So he's talking about that, about loan forgiveness based upon your income, how that goes into it. He's going to put his money into that. And also, too, giving us better grants and giving people more resources to the front door so don't have to worry about those loans coming out. So giving them more financial aid to help with that, too. So those are just the kind of things about the Lift Every Voice plan that I liked, that I thought that was very crucial for things that I'm interested in, because I am looking to start a family. So what do you think with decisions that are made now or the things that are input to action now, these are things that my kids are going to benefit from in the future. So those are the things that just from Biden that I thought very interested in that I read about.
Did you look at the platinum plan at all?
The platinum plan? I ain't gonna lie. Trump just ain't gonna do it. So. I'm not gonna front act like I did. But I will say this: even though that's what I am personally saying, I do want to also say, please make sure you do look at both parties. Yes, I'm saying what I like and what I prefer. At the end of the day, educate yourself, right? Because you really do need to know what your vote is going for and what is it for.
I mean, so like even with the platinum plan, like he wants to create 3 million jobs for Black people. I don't understand if he knows how HR works. But I don't foresee how you can implement that. Whatever, 3 million jobs, whatever. He wants to give $500 billion or investing directly into Black America for entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Let's
still push the Black
he wants to
ownership
make
in some way, so he does identify it.
This is what. So I read it, and I'm like, he think, but he said he wants to make urban America safer by.
So you saw the,
and this
saw
is
the policing portion.
Is it the policing? You seen that too?
I remember because it was. Cause I said I skimmed it, and I remember I saw the policing thing, and I was like, okay, you trying to slide something in there on us. Is that what you trying to do?
No.
So like I said, immediately that's what I felt when I looked at it.
Trump ain't sliding nothing, bro. He put it in black and white and told you that he is on the way. You feel me? Like I'm going to, do some policing stuff, and we're gonna make this thing safer. After he already told you he don't want you in suburban America. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Like he ain't sliding. And this is what I want people to understand. He's not sliding anything on you. He ain't lied about nothing. Like he ain't lied about himself, the wall and all that.
I'm just sorry, like for me, my issue is like, I'm sorry. So since we're going on to this, like for me, it's just like I'm not going to act like I'm the most politically educated person in the world. I'm not. I'm the first one to admit politics can be a headache. I feel like all politicians are just liars. They're just, I'm really, to me, ultimately, I'm just want to see who's telling the best lie, right? Like, I'm just being honest. That's how I feel about it, right? But at the end of the day, if you're at least going to push it, make an effort to tell me something and tell me what it is, I would like at least for you to factor me in. So at least I do believe there is something to it, right? My vote does matter because I'm voting for somebody who's at least going to push something because you want me to vote for you in the future too, right? So that just is my opinion on it. But it's just one of those like, this man couldn't even on national TV. He could not renounce white supremacy. Like the basic of thing for you to just even simply say. Like the simple, like you wouldn't even gotta mean it. you weren't even willing to lie to me. You weren't even willing to lie. That's why I go back to like who's talking the most lie. You weren't even willing to lie to me about it. Like you weren't even willing to lie about it. I was like, oh no. You can't even try to lie to me about it. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just being real.
So
you couldn't even take the effort to lie to
I'm
me.
not worth the lie. I'm like, I'm like, damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you can't even like come up with a good one for me real quick.
Right? Like I'm not worth the lie. Like that's how I feel. That's what kind of led into that by saying the line thing. It's like you didn't even try to lie. And that to me is why I said certain things about politics, I don't need to read up on certain candidates because that to his base is like, nah, I can't go for that. I just can't. I can't do it.
But
this
is what I warn you on that though. You vote for good people, and you're not getting good people.
Well, Paul,
so what else you going to?
Yeah, but at least you can make it seem like you a good person. At least make the lie look good. Like he didn't even make the lie. Like which I can respect. I want to be real. I can respect that. There's a level to me that can respect that because I get it. But to me, it's just like, bro, damn.
You're the type of person that has spent two days researching something at Best Buy, and when you go, you still want them to sell it to you because you just feel like you deserve that, right?
Yeah. That's like
all that work.
Like, you know the perfect example. This is funny. We started talking about politics and kind of went left, but I'm gonna get real ratchet real quick. That's like I have friends, right? You already know I'm gonna talk about it. But I have friends, right, who I talk to, and they'll be like, why do you pay for dances when you go to the strip club?
I knew it.
Like, yeah, they're in there and they're already, but they naked, half naked, but it's still the extra part of the show. Or the fact that sometimes I say, yeah, I want a stripper to come up to me and ask me if I want to dance, and at least sell me the idea. I'm probably gonna pay for it anyway, but at least give me some customer service. You know what I'm saying? It is so wrong for me to want the same out of people I'm electing. Like, at least let me know. No, real talk though. Like, I'll laugh about it, but like to the core of it, at least let me know you're paying me some attention and that you care about what I care about to a degree. Even if you're gonna lie about it, at least make me feel like you care. Like Trump does not make me feel like he cares. Like it just all sounds like, ooh, I talked to Kanye, so I'm saying this. So that's not like Kanye. It's not an example of the everyday black man. Like I'm just sorry, he's not. Like, do you really care about black people or do you just care about the rich black people? Like there is a difference, right? So for me, it just goes to that. Like denouncing white supremacy to its base is just a simple.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be
a
so
political
hard.
debate for you to talk to say I'm going to treat everybody with equity.
Like, and that's what I'm saying. And the fact that like that is, and the fact that like he couldn't even say that to me to his core. I know I went left on it, but the real talk, like that to his core to me, it just I just can't do it.
I applaud you because I can definitely see the passion and the care.
Yeah.
And I think we need that more to fight against apathy, man. We have to care. Like it may not. I have a son, right?
Yeah.
And I know how policy works. I know how a lot of things work. Or I have a good idea. I don't know everything, but I have a good idea about how a lot of this stuff works. My work now, what I choose to do now is my labor. What my son benefit from 21, 24, 30 years from now is the fruit of that labor. You feel me? Like I have to do the right thing by him because I'm ultimately concerned about setting his future up. You feel me? So that means I got to go and get on my phone and Google what these people are talking about and be able to come up with a rational conclusion of how I feel about it and charge that towards my ballot when I go vote. Then I'm gonna do that because I care about him. I care about you. I care about my friends and family, and I want everybody to live a life of equity. You feel me? I want everybody to be able to be represented fairly by by the constructs that shapes the way that they live their life. Because that's what government does, right? Mm-hmm. It shapes the way that you live your life. You may be doing well, or you may not be doing well. Or you may have this paradigm that I do what the hell I want to do because I want to do it. No, brother, you do what you are allowed inside of a system.
Ooh.
Right? Ooh. But you have a say in how that system is shaped. Yeah. Right? And you can't be such a sore loser that if you lose an election or if a key issue that you voted on it doesn't go in your favor, well, I'm never going to do that shit again because the vote don't matter. Put it in context. Black people were 13% of the population. Last election cycle was a pretty bad voter turnout. We only accounted for 10% of the electorate. You feel me? So I don't know how much we accounted for the populace, but we only accounted for 10% of the electorate. Hispanic Americans also accounted for 10% of the electorate. We can control their community. You feel me? Like they have their own issues. They're gonna vote for what's right for them. Even within our community, we're not all gonna vote the same way. It's okay.
Perfectly okay.
It's okay.
You gotta vote for what your interest is in there. That'll make you less black or more black and vote for your interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what we can't accept is you having a voice and opinion about everything and you're not going to oppose. Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you want to sit here all day and qualify your opinion to me, but you can't qualify it to the people that matters. I don't respect it at that point.
So basically, you're saying like you whine, bitch, complain, but you haven't used the smallest of power that you do have, which is voting. So why are you complaining?
Exactly.
You didn't use the power that you do have.
And to give you the extra nugget on that before we close this thing out, if you don't, if the candidate is your issue, look at yourself and look at the community that you live in and say, am I doing enough to prop up the youth and the generation that are coming up after me, or am I supporting this person who may be a leader in my community enough to where they are going and they are running in these elections. They're putting their hat, in that so that they can become that representative and they can represent the people that live here. I told my kids, had a project with my kids, and I led them to a journey where they found out who their district representative is, right? I'm not going to call her name off, but no, she does not look like them at all, right? And I literally live in I think it's the second poorest now, but the second poorest zip code for African Americans in the city of Atlanta. In the city of Atlanta, it is more likely, damn near more likely for you to get struck by lightning than to be born poor and become affluent. Like our mobility in Atlanta is trash, right? And they're not. And I know we call it Wakanda, and we see these black faces, but by and large, we're not represented by them. Mm-hmm. Right? You feel me? We're like 90% of the population here. Go look and see who represents you. You feel me? that matters, right? Go and make sure that your voice is heard, your issues are heard. Make sure that you're giving yourself clout, giving yourself the ability to say what it is you believe, even if it is different from what everybody else believes. That is okay, right? The cowardly thing to do is have an opinion, but you ain't actually doing anything about it, right? So we'll wrap it up right there. As always, we love y'all. Wish you peace and light. Come on back. Hear what we got to say next time.
Please go. We out.
We out.
Because really what you said ultimately was, what does relinquish mean to you? So like, what does that even mean to you in the first place? And what you want to convey in our show?
So like relinquish, when I hear that and I think about what you guys have created and what it is to me. So a lot of times when we hear the term or we feel the analogy of like somebody being shackled or held down to whatever circumstance that is holding them down, we think about the cuffs actually being an exterior force that's wrapped around your wrist. Sometimes you are holding on to those things.
Yeah.
And then when you relinquish it, let it go, you're free, right? So,
Yeah.
but that is a process within itself.
You create your own freedom, ultimately.
You creating your own freedom. The freedom is there. You feel me? Like there's always going to be outside forces that influence you to behave as if you were trapped. That ain't necessarily it. You know what I mean? So, like when I hear relinquish, you're letting go things that are holding you down from being free. Like literally, Erykah Badu bag lady, like let the bags go so you can fly. So that's what I hear when I hear relinquish.
That's real, bro. I mean, that's ultimately what relinquish what we try to convey. I mean, ultimately, we're trying to let people know, like, your freedom is really your own. The freedom is there for you to obtain. The freedom is there for you to get it, but you have to let go so you can be free and fly away.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, just what you said, man. That's perfect.
Absolutely.
That's
So even when I think about what it is that we are in the journey of where we're trying to create, and this is a show, and it's so many. Let's not get beside ourselves and say that we're groundbreaking. We're doing something new. It's men talking about issues from a man's perspective. At the end of the day, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But what I want people to know is that what I hope is different, or what we're even. I hope this isn't different, but I hope what is the message, what you get from us is, while what we're saying isn't fact, and it may not be fact.
No, it's not fact.
Yeah, it can be based on facts, but it ain't fact.
We're not getting bullshit.
And it isn't the truth, right? This is our truth. This is what we feel to be true. This is what we think is, what is relevant. This is our moral scope.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you have to trust your own truth. You have to believe. You have to find what it is that you believe, and you have to live by that code. And hopefully that coincides with everybody else. And you just doing your part to make this world a better place.
See, this is why you were one of the first people to take pictures of. You explained it perfectly. But no, I mean, no, bro. I mean, I definitely do feel you in that. Like, ultimately, what we want people to get from relinquish is really what you think it is. I mean, honestly, ultimately, it's about being free.
Right.
So whatever your idea of being free is, that's what it's gonna be.
So you gotta understand that relinquish is as far as what you guys built. Like you have to go straight to the source for that. But use relinquish as a term, as a word, as a lifestyle. That ultimately, I'm telling you to use that to set you free.
Right.
That's it.
That's it. That's all we need.